What up, fam? You know, it's fall, a special time of year where runners meet on grassy courses, muddy courses, and just get downright dirty. It's the season of cross country, baby. Now, whether you are in middle school, high school, or doing a club league to run cross country, I've compiled some information for you guys so that you guys, after watching this video, hopefully, can become a better cross country runner. In this video today, we're going to talk about the types and specificities of training towards cross country, how to race, when to surge, and what racing shoes and spikes you should use for cross country. If you guys like what we've seen so far, smash that like button. It really helps the video. Share this video to a runner in need. If you do that, it tells YouTube to push out the video more to get more viewers, just like you at home. And leave a comment down below how your guys' cross-country season is going if you currently are in one. What was the most difficult cross-country race you've ever done? And if you could do something different, what would you do and why? Now, with that being said, let's get to it, fam. Now, fam, let's talk about the specifics of training for cross-country. As with any sport that you do, the body adapts very specifically to the demands imposed on it. Cross country, right, you're spending time on running on different terrains. So I suggest that you guys spend time training and doing workouts on said terrains, such as grass, dirt, gravel, undulating terrains, hills, jumping over logs, running through creeks, jumping over hay bales like European style courses. Make sure you're doing workouts on the terrain that you're expecting to race well on. You guys need to practice mimicking surging type workouts such as fartleks, and workouts that mimic final surges or final sprints like repeat 200s at the end of a workout. You guys also got to understand that for you guys watching at home, probably majority of the people that are watching this are 5K runners. If you're in high school, maybe do some a little less. If you're in college, you're probably doing 8Ks or 10Ks. But understand that a 5K is about 91% aerobic, and leading further up in distance, the more aerobic it becomes. So therefore, you should tailor your training to the specificity of the aerobicness of the 5K or the event you're training for. When racing, make sure you go by effort. If you're racing on a course that you're not familiar with or that is known to be difficult, you are in for a rude awakening. If it is known to be fast and you are confident that you can do well, then by all means, go for pace. But at the end of the day, fam, it's place that matters. Side note, and a lot of high school coaches probably preach this to their athletes, but you see this in high school races. When you guys finish and get in that chute, and especially if there's like hundreds of runners around you, make sure no one passes you in the chute because that's going to affect the scoring and your coach is probably going to get mad. Do not go out hard and blow up. A 5K is short enough that you can go out subconsciously at 3K effort for some time. And you can hold that for about 8 to 10 minutes, that 3K effort. Therefore, after that time zone, your body generally tends to slow down. 3K effort is close to your VO2 max, which your body can only maintain for about 8 to 10 minutes before it's forced to slow down. Race defensively, especially if the course is difficult. Speaking of defense, since the race should be by effort and what matters is place, if you can, especially during championship season, because by this time you should have some idea of what your competition does, how they race, their strategy, and if your fitness is there, I would sit on the pack of your competition, like stay within that pack. When the time comes, you pass them hard, unwillingly. Their reaction time will be slower than yours, and they will be forced to make a split-second decision when you already have made yours. Run with a pack if you can instead of alone. Believe it or not, when you run with a pack, your perceived exertion or how hard you're running actually feels less to you than if you were running alone. Plus, if it's windy, you can draft into that pack behind someone. And if they're a big dude in front of you, kind of like I'm a small dude and I'm behind the big dude, and we have a headwind, the big dude can eat about 80% of that headwind. So let them do the work. Let the pack do the work, fam. Now, here is a part of the video where I'm going to talk to you guys about knowing when to surge. We're going to talk about the first surge, the middle surges, and the final surges of a cross-country race. The chaos of cross-country and the terrain of the course will unwillingly force you to make decisions such as surging throughout the course so you can avoid situations such as getting boxed in, getting behind slower runners, getting stuck on a single track, trying to make that first turn when there are 200 runners around you, and the final sprint. The first surge of a race you should be at the start. For example, if you guys ever run Foot Locker South, now known as East Bay South, McAlpine Greenway, you start like on the field and a little bit of it is on gravel, but you make that first right turn maybe like 200 meters down the course. the first surge, you guys want to hit that turn as quick as possible without hurting yourself. So it's not an all-out sprint. The body is using primarily creatine phosphate the first 12 to 20 seconds of that surge or sprint in the beginning. So if you know and your fitness is there, and if you're slightly ahead of your competition, if you can get to that turn within 12 to 20 seconds, then by all means go for it. If you think you can't get to that turn within 12 to 20 seconds, then I suggest you position yourself in where the pack is, either right behind runners that are slightly faster than you, to kind of maintain, because it's going to be a battle going into the course, especially if the course becomes, 6 feet wide, accommodating 300 plus runners, or single track and whatnot. Now, the same premise of trying to get out of danger when it comes to cross-country courses and surge in the middle of races would be to do things like surging to avoid getting boxed in, surging to avoid crappy terrain on the course, such as, say the course is 4 feet wide and there's a patch of sand that runs all up and down, vertically on that course. You obviously don't want to run in that patch of sand. Or if there's a ton of mud, or there's a creek in front of you and you got a bunch of runners behind you, you would probably want to surge to get to the creek first, so you're not, splishing and splashing and falling down and drowning. We don't want that. And those surges are not supposed to be all out. They're just kind of surges to get out of danger, not surges to break the morale of your competition. Now, the final surge is pretty detailed. The final surge is dependent on how fit you are, how close you are to your lactate threshold when you started the race, and how close you stayed to it, whether slightly below it or slightly above it. The closer you are to your lactate threshold, the more room you have to work with. Now, I'm not saying go out and run 3/4 of the race at a hobby jog pace and then sprint the final quarter mile. If you train your lactate threshold enough, you should have a sense, and your body will know whether you're at lactate threshold in training, which should feel comfortably hard, a pace you can talk in small sentences, and a pace you can hold about for an hour. But when it comes to 5K racing, chances are you're going to be slightly above lactate threshold for a majority of the race. You'll know if you're above lactate threshold if you're starting to feel heavy legs from blood lactate accumulation, your breathing is labored, huff and puff is closer to VO2 max. You know what I mean if you ever run a 3K or a mile. Your body will know when you're in that effort that far above lactate threshold, and your brain will be forced to slow your body down so you don't hurt yourself. The higher you raise that lactate threshold bar in training, the longer you can hold a faster pace for a given set of time. So lactate threshold training is very important for cross country. And I would say for the 5K, probably once a week minimum for lactate threshold stuff. Now, the final surge is, like I said before, is dependent on fitness, lactate threshold, but it's also dependent on your muscle fiber makeup, whether you are, like a slower distance runner like me, 10K to marathon, or you're fast, 800 meter to 5K, the lower end of the range. So by the time you get to championship season and you practice with your teammates in competition, you should know what your competition is capable of doing, and you should know yourself if you're able to do said things within the race itself by doing it in practice. So if you're the more slow twitch type runner, you're probably gonna have to rely on a gradual pickup strategy, versus if you're a miler, you can probably get away with a finishing kick, assuming you have enough room to work with towards the end of your competition. Now, you guys probably won't know at home if you're in high school. I would say, comment down below if you guys disagree otherwise, until around your sophomore year of college, whether you're more of a distance-oriented type successful runner, 5K and up in college, or 5K and lower, more of a miler, faster, quick twitch type runner. In high school, to me at least, it seems that everyone races 1,500 meters to 5K. So predictability between 1,500 meters to 5K is not as close as you think for high schoolers, because high schoolers tend to be lacking in endurance. You tend to see more of a status quo when you get to college and equivalent performances. Like in high school, I did a video on this, link up in the cards, is that everyone, thinks they're a miler. No one thinks they're a 5K runner, or because you're only dealing with so many variabilities of distances that your body is training for, and the development of endurance takes years. So you won't really know if you're more of a sprinter at the end of a race or more of a miler. Now, the 800 is a totally different animal. If you guys kick butt in the 800, then chances are you're probably more of a sprinter-ish, or more of a quick twitch towards the end of a race than a gradual pickup kind of guy like me. But you won't know until you get the experience of racing in itself. Now, the final surge should begin within the last or so 3 minutes of a race to finishing. Obviously, if you did not execute the race perfectly or you're not having a good day, then obviously tailor the effort otherwise. And like I said prior, it's also dependent on muscle fiber makeup and the amount of specific training you've had. But the first 2 minutes of those last 3-ish minutes can be at around 3K effort. So if you went out in 5K and stayed there, or maybe a little more conservative, you got room to work with, you guys can pick up to 3K. So that's when you start to feel huff and puff or a little more VO2 maxi for about 2-ish minutes. And then the last minute, you can drop to about mile-ish effort. You see this all the time with pro runners. Obviously, it's going to take some time to be able to do that. But look at Woody Kincaid in his 10,000 meter final at the US Olympic Trials, where he split, I believe, like a 52 or 53 last quarter. Now, if you're more of a slow twitch runner, you do not want to be around a fast twitch runner within the last 12 to 20 seconds, because they will probably catch you by the time you get to the finish. So I would plan accordingly and maybe start your pickup a little bit sooner. Practice progression runs and final surges in races to see where you stand. Head there the day before. Make sure you guys spot out the tangents. You know, point A to point B on the hypotenuse of a triangle is actually shorter in distance than the other parts. You would want to make sure you're taking that tangent to be able to get to that point quicker. Otherwise, you're going to be running more distance. Make sure you guys hug the turns. They measure the courses, I believe USATF does, unless they changed it, 3 feet within a turn with the flag set up, and they measure from the tangent. So make sure you're running the length of the course to the best of your ability. Obviously, you're going to have obstacles, and obviously, you're going to have people to work around, but focus on running less and not more. Now, if you can get there early, and this happens all the time in high school, is that you guys can send your offering of your high school athlete, maybe one of the JV kids, and put them on the line to hold the line so that no one steals your spot. The team spot or block that you want to get would want to be the tangent to the first turn. So at East Bay South, you probably want to be on the far left because it turns right coming up. But any other courses, if you can figure out where the first turn is, and obviously you're going to have to pay attention to terrain and competition, run the less distance traveled. Spikes and flats and shoes, which is probably a topic a lot of you guys have been waiting for, like what spikes are the best spikes and stuff like that. I'm not really going to get into that, but I'm going to talk about the spikes, the terrain, and what kind of shoe it should be, and you guys can make that decision of what shoe you want, or maybe you already have something you could use. So if there's a considerable amount of asphalt or road within the cross-country course, I would stick to a flat, because obviously spikes aren't going to fare well on asphalt or road. You're just going to destroy them, and you're not going to get good traction. If you have the ability to wear super shoes, only of what I said prior, and if it's primarily road or asphalt and it's not banned within that competition, then by all means go for it. They are advantageous on the road, but I would not wear super shoes like the Vaporfly or Alphafly on a course that's primarily cross country or grass. The differences in terrain is going to cause your foot to bend different ways. Those shoes tend to have higher stack heights, so you have a higher probability of rolling your ankle and not loading the foot properly when you're running. So I would stick to a shoe that is a little more flexible and has a lower stack height. What would be a good example of that would be the Nike LT4, because I'm a Nike guy, or something equivalent to that. Now, some courses give you the option to put longer spikes into your spikes, aside from the traditional 6mm or 1/4 inch pyramid spikes, and that is 9, 12, and 15mm spikes. Most of the time, I feel like, at least in the US, course marshals or course directors do not allow those length of spikes. But if you had the option to put spikes in, then go for the 1/4 inch pyramid, or pin spikes are even better, little sharper ones. Now for me, I'm not much of a cross-country guy anymore. I'm more of a road guy. But back in the day, I used to get like the Nike Victory XC spike, and I used to put in 1/4 inch pyramid spikes, probably because the majority of the time the race directors did not allow any other distance in spikes or any other length in spikes. But I'm at the point now that you guys can also do this too, is that I just use my old track spikes for cross-country season, only because I probably only race like 1 or 2 cross-country races a year, and there's probably going to be a new spike model coming out for the next season that you're probably going to want anyway, and you save money, so you don't have to buy 2 sets of spikes. Obviously, if you're racing on road or other hard-packed terrains, you would want to get something that would not destroy your spikes. My choice would probably be the Dragonfly, because that's what I use during track, but that is just me. All right, so if you guys got any questions, comment down below about how to be a better cross-country runner. Make sure you guys smash that like button, hit that notification bell for when I post my next video. Love you all. Catch you next time. Peace.